My favorite season is here, spring, though I think winter is my favorite season in Florida. But I love spring for the colors, the blooming flowers. You guys know lavender is my all-time favorite color, and for me, lavender is a spring color. So I'm sharing with you 10 eyeshadow palettes that I will be using this spring. I went through all of my makeup drawers and I pulled out 10 eyeshadow palettes that I am going to leave at my makeup station to reach for whenever I'm not sure what palette I want to reach for. This is a good way for me to pull out some palettes that maybe I haven't worn as much, and it's also a great way for me to just bring up some palettes that you might have in your collection that you haven't used in a while and for you to pull out as well. So I have a range of price, high to low. Some are new, some are old, some you can't get anymore, but I'm crossing my fingers that you might have these in your collection. So this is just your inspiration to pull out some fresh palettes that you haven't used in a while and give yourself the opportunity for fresh new looks for the springtime. Obviously, you can wear whatever colors you want, but I do think it's a little fun element to pull colors that you are looking for in the spring. For me, the colors that I was looking at this year are mostly pinks and like lavender pops, pretty neutral eyes, not crazy colors. I was looking at my video last year. I was super into pastel colors, and I do have some pastel pops in here, but it's less pastel based. So let's go ahead and get into it. I am just doing this in alphabetical order by brand. No really particular order. So let's start off with the first palette that I pulled that I want to use more this spring. This is from ABH. This is the Nouveau palette. This launched last year, and for me, this screamed spring. It was one of my all-time favorite palettes of the year, and I think the quality is phenomenal, and the colors here are neutral but still very spring-esque, especially with this pop of lavender. Now, if you take it out, don't look at my nails too hard, but you have some pretty peaches and green tones, which I think is also really great for spring. So this is one that I definitely wanted to use this time of year. So I pulled this one out. So if you purchased this last year, this time of year is great. This is a very wearable palette, but definitely very seasonally appropriate as well. So that's the first palette I'm going to be using. The next palette that I have is from BK Beauty. I honestly haven't used this palette in a while, and I think this palette is for really great everyday soft springy looks. So this is the only palette they've launched. This is the True Beauty palette. And again, what called to me was the pop of lavender in here, but you see there's a little bit of warm tones, also some cool tones, some golden tones. So my thought for this was just really light, easy eyes for the springtime. You're not going to get a very dramatic look with this, but it's perfect for just popping onto the eyelid to get a light, bright, springy touch that's going to still, you know, kind of match the flowers, match the lighter colors that you're most likely wearing. So I thought that this one was perfect. The formulation on this is definitely more soft. Like I said, you're not getting this for buildability or for pops of pigment, but just for really great soft everyday looks. So I definitely wanted to pull this one out. I pulled a lot of wearable palettes this time around because I want to feel comfortable with the eyeshadow that I'm wearing, and I've been into softer eye looks lately, so this one is perfect. The next one that I have is one of my more affordable options, but it still gives you a lot of options. This is from ColourPop. This is the Gettin' Fresh palette. Now, I will admit, this wasn't my favorite palette from ColourPop because I felt like a few of the pops kind of lacked in quality, but nonetheless, it's very affordable. You get a lot of shade. I like that there's peachy tones. I like that there's pops of green. I like that there's pinks. I just think that this is a very spring appropriate palette that I want to mess around with. I'm excited to put some greens on my eyes, but even just a really simple like these three up here with the peachy pink shimmer and the peachy lid shades are going to be so stunning for a very, very simple look. You have all of the options that you need. So this is a great option if you're looking to purchase a spring palette that's going to give you a lot of colors that kind of match the season and the clothing and the colors everywhere, that is relatively affordable. So I wanted to mention this one. This one is great. Next up, I wanted to pull an indie option. This one I don't believe is sold anymore, but it could be incorrect. All of these palettes will be linked down below if they are able to be purchased, but this is from Kaleidos. This is the Escape Pod. This came out years ago, but I feel like this is the perfect time to pull it out. And it also has some really fun pops in here, but you can also get neutral looks as well. Again, the lavenders, the green pops, the pinks. This has all that I want and then more, of course, with these additional colors at the top. So I thought that this one would be a fun one to pull for this time of year, as well as I love this shimmer row here. It's going to give such a pretty glimmer on the eye when the sun that is now out hits the eye. So I'm really excited about this one. I haven't used this one in so long, so this was my time to pull it out. That's for sure. I'm excited to use this one more. Next up is a pinky palette. I've been really into pinks, even though I say I'm tired of the rose palettes, I'm tired of the pink palettes. I still pulled this one out. So this is from Nars. This is the Summer Unrated palette. So it was a summer launch, but I really like this one for the pinky tones this time of year. It's a very, very wearable palette. Love the quality of Nars. I feel like they really squeezed in a lot of different colors and formulations in this one palette. You can go very natural, you can go more pinky, you can even get more of a dramatic night look with this as well. So this kind of covers that everyday but also still springy kind of vibe, and it's also going to brighten up the eyes as well. So I'm excited about this one. I love this one. I don't get the chance to use it as often, so that's why I wanted to pull this out, because I wanted to give it more love. The next palette that I have is from Natasha. Had to pull this one out. It's very, very springy, has some underlying pastel vibes to it. And Natasha Denona does have the pastel palette, which is also perfect for this time of year. But I wanted to pull out something different. So I pulled out the Retro Glam palette. Retro Glam palette, and I mean, you can see just by looking at it why I pulled it. It also does have kind of some winter vibes as well, but I'm looking at the pink and green and it's screaming spring to me. This one was actually not my favorite Natasha Denona launch, but I am determined to enjoy some of the looks that I get out of this. So I didn't really feel very inspired by this palette in terms of looks that I created. So I want to give this some more chances, really play around with it, and I feel like I can do some fun looks for spring with this. So I'm going to really test its true abilities this spring, and I just think the light green and the pastel pink kind of vibes to this palette is going to be perfect for this time of year. So I'm really excited to see what I can do with this. This palette I don't really love, but I think it is very appropriate for this time of year. It is not too expensive. So this is from Rephr Beauty, and this is the Go Go Boots palette. There were some quality issues with this, but overall I think you can get such pretty easy looks. I like the size of it with it being so small. So my favorite look includes this baby blue and then this purple. Together the look is phenomenal. You also have some cooler tones here as well for simple looks. So this one, like, I don't love it, but I really do want to use it more because I think it is such a fun, unique palette. I don't see a lot of palettes that have this color combination here. So I will be planning on using this more this time of year. All right, let's go over what is on my eyes today. This is the palette that I decided to put on, and it is the newest palette of this selection of colors. I did want to pick a palette that was kind of a newer launch, and so I picked out the Too Faced Italian Spritz. I think this palette is also going to carry you very well into the summertime. You have a lot of pops of colors, but also equally a good amount of neutrals as well. That's the Too Faced way. Now, I will say one thing about this palette as I've continued to use it more. I don't love it as much as the reviews are saying. I've noticed for me a few quality issues. That being said, you can absolutely still get a gorgeous look. I mean, it's what I have on today. I love the look, but I just feel like there is palettes that have quality that I prefer out there. But nonetheless, I still plan on using it. I think it's really fun. I love the way that it smells, and I know a lot of you guys are loving it. So I wanted to mention that this one is good for this time of year. For today's look for the demo, I did start off with some bronzer and eyeliner because I was testing the new Fenty mascara, the Hella Thick mascara, which by the way is phenomenal. I have on falsies now, but my lashes looked really great before that. So I had bronzer all over my eye, but I wanted to build upon that with this palette. So I started off with Mamma Mia right here, and I blended it along the crease. It does blend out to be a pretty sheer color, so do keep that in mind, but that gave me the depth. I also did apply that along the outer part of my lower lash line as well. I then went in with my finger, and without having nails on, it's really nice to use my finger and really get in the corner. I've been enjoying being nailless for that. So I took Take Me to Church right here, and I applied it all over my eyelid. I wanted it to be that rosy color that I was talking about that I want to wear. I love how textured it looks. Now I will say it did take a lot of building up, because what I find with these shimmers is that they don't really adhere to the lid evenly. It just looks like really sporadic sparkles. So I did have to build it up, but once we got there, we got there. It looks gorgeous all over the eyelid, really dimensional. And then to finish it off, I had to wet my brush because this doesn't really show up without a wet brush, but I took Spritz and Glitz, which is that lavender color. I wanted it to match my shirt, so I just put it along the inner half of my lower lash line. I think it makes the look more interesting because we have two different colors, but they still are very close in color family, so it's somewhat monochromatic. I don't know, I just think it's really, really pretty. So this look was very simple to do. It only used 3 colors and it looks really pretty. This is the vibe that I'm going for this spring, is light, bright, pinky, purpley, not too much depth. So that's what I got from this palette. I wanted to pick something from Tom Ford because I haven't been reaching for my Tom Ford palettes quite as much, and I did pay a pretty penny for them, as you know, so I definitely want to get more use out of them. So I pulled Rose Prisme, which wasn't one of my favorites, but I feel like it definitely fits the vibes for spring. Really light, a lack of depth. We have a very whitish pink shade, a peachy shade, a glimmery shade, and then this can add just a little bit of depth. So I think that this one will really fit my preferred color palette for this spring. So I want to use this. I spent a whopping $90 on it, so whether I like it or not, I'm gonna use it. Which brings us to our very last palette that I wanted to use. I had to pick from Viseart because you guys know I love Viseart, and this one is so perfect for the spring. This is the Viseart Petit Force Pistache palette. So it's just a really simple small quad, and it's going to give this really gorgeous light green look. Very simple, very stunning on the eyes. Again, another look that doesn't have a lot of depth, but that's what I'm going for. And I think these green tones are just so fun, but still somewhat wearable. I was really into green tones last year, so I'm kind of pulling that into this year. So this is kind of a one and done look where I don't have to think about it. It's all done for me. You guys know my stance on Viseart quality. I think they are the best of the best in terms of quality. I say that about a lot of brands, but they're up there. They're in that group. So I wanted to pull this one from Viseart. And there you have it. Those are the 10 eyeshadow palettes that I'm pulling out and using this spring. My goal was hopefully to inspire you if you have any of these palettes to pull them out and let's create some looks this spring. So go ahead, take a look at your collection, see what you have. What palettes are you going to pull out and be using a lot this spring? I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. You guys know I love a good eyeshadow palette talk video, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye guys, have a good one.